Hey guys, so I wanted to make this video because ironically I was getting ready to post a video that was kind of similar to what I'm about to talk about when I got tagged on a post in Facebook by somebody who wanted to start their own seal coating business. Now, they went out, they bought everything brand new, top of the line. I'm not sure if they bought it or they financed it. Inclined to think that they actually bought everything, seeing how this person looks like they come from some sort of means from another business venture. So I'm going to assume that they paid cash for everything. The things that I saw that they purchased, you know, depending on what it is, are at least in the neighborhood of 20 to 30 grand. And that kind of, you know, the person was just kind of asking for advice, you know, and my advice to people who are thinking of starting a seal coating business. Are you thinking of starting a seal coating business? If you just sat down and typed in how to start a seal coating business and you found this video, I am coming to you with 20 years of experience, good and bad. My failures are your education. So don't make the same mistakes that I made. To give you a little bit of history, I started my company in 2004. I started it on the side. I was working a full-time job. My wife and I were having kids, and we decided that to gain some extra money, I was going to go out and seal coat at nights and on the weekends. I learned how to seal coat. My uncle owned a paving company. His sealer guys never showed up. I was living with him at the time out in Michigan, and by proxy, I just learned how to seal coat. So, fast forward, you know, 1998, I moved back to Massachusetts. About 2004, we decide we got to come up with some supplementary income. And I say, hey, I can seal coat. I go out, I buy a 6x10 landscape trailer, a backpack blower. I get an oil tank from the job that I worked at. I worked for a plumbing and heating supply place. And Premier Seal Coating was born. I started doing driveways, nights, weekends, and I took every single dime that I made and I put it back into the company. In the beginning, I didn't finance anything. I was afraid to. And I didn't have good credit at that point. I didn't have good credit. I was 20-something years old. Nobody ever taught me how important credit was going to be in my life as I got older. So, you know, I do this and I'm doing driveways. And, you know, in the beginning, I've said in other videos, everything's great because in the beginning, people like, they want to help you. They want to support you. Your family's going to call. Your friends are going to call. Your brother's going to go to work. He's going to tell all the people that he works with. You know, you might put some job site signs out and you see it and you'll get little hits near here and there. And maybe you'll get lucky with some stuff. But at the end of the day, you're not big time. Okay. Because the people who are looking for you, all right, those aren't the same people who, you know, because here's the deal. You don't really have a presence at that point. You know, stay away from SEO marketing and fucking, you know, pay-per-click and stay away from it. It's all snake oil. It's all designed to get your money. Okay. If you want to be in the pay-per-click bull arena of seal coating, it goes to the top bidder. Whoever's willing to pay the most for that top spot, it goes there. And you can manipulate that. If you want to be a dickbag, you can just sit there in the morning. I've made other videos showing this, where you can just wake up and click off your competition's budget. Because once you know how SEO marketing really works, you get a budget. You're willing to pay so much a day per clicks. Each click is worth a certain value depending on where it shows up on the thing. Let's say a customer has or a company has a $50 or $100 a day click budget, right? You could wake up in the morning on the shitter and click through their entire budget in the first 10 minutes, and then they won't show up in for the rest of the day. And for anybody who's watching this who thinks that, oh, that's not true. Well, I got a video on my channel. You can go back and you can watch me do it on a screen recording where I just cancel people out. You don't want to spend money in that. Now, when you start doing this, You throw money at it. You don't know any better. And that's what I'm saying. I'm here to explain my failures and the shit that did not work for me. You start getting calls from companies like Yellow Pages and Haibu, and we can get you listed on 137 different things. And you know what? None of that worked. And the other thing with that is, once you agree to Google's pay-per-click, you agree to Yellow Pages or Haibu or any other of these SEO peddling companies, what they're going to do is they're going to build ghost websites over your website. And they're going to give you ghost phone numbers over your phone numbers. So everything that you try to do in the way of branding your company, they're going to undo, okay? Because my company's website is premiersealcoatingma.com, but once Yellow Pages got a hold of it, they turned it into, anywhere where their version of me was found, the customers found me through like a premiersealcoat.net or something, which is not me. That's not my brand. Same thing with my phone number. The customers wouldn't get my telephone number to my company. They would get a call tracking number. So let's say that customer in 2 months needs to call you back, or in a year later wants to call you back, and they wrote you down by your call tracking number, but you're not doing any kind of business with Google or whatever SEO campaign you were doing business with. They try to call that number, it doesn't go anywhere. They don't find you, they go find somebody else. So my best advice to you, again, I have videos, is you got to build an organic presence, okay? And by doing things like, let Facebook, let Instagram, let Twitter, let all these fucking places that have huge footprints do the advertising for you. All you have to do is set up profiles on these places, use the keywords of your industry and the name of your business, and you'll just show up. I mean, again, I don't want to go over old shit. I have videos of proving this. Go back, watch them. But a lot of mistakes that people make that are getting into this industry is they either go out and they finance all the equipment, or they go out and they buy all the equipment. And now they're stuck, because if they went and they spent all their capital on purchasing equipment to start this new venture and things don't happen, well, that capital that they spent on all that equipment would have been the capital that helped them get through those slow times. Same thing with, financing all this new equipment, okay? You go finance all this new equipment and things get slow. You fall behind on your payments. Then you fall behind on your living payments, your obligations as a person, not just a company. But then when you start making money, okay, you go and you put that money towards your personal things, not losing your house, feeding your kids, putting shoes on your kids before your business. Now you got all these people looking for the equipment for the business. It's look, you can have all the good intentions in the world, but it takes time to get the ball rolling. It takes time to build a name and a reputation. So my advice to people is to dip your feet in the pool. Go out, build something, or find something used and get your feet wet with that. Learn how to do it. It's like you're not going to go buy your kids a fucking brand new car right when they get their license, right? No, because they're going to bounce it off of everything. They're going to spill shit in it. They're going to scratch it up. Why would you do the same thing with new seal coating stuff? All right? You're going to make a mess. You're going to be sloppy in the beginning. You're not going to... Why go trash, 30, 40 grand in equipment and 50,000 in a truck just to have all that equipment? Because think about it. Let's say you're going to go out and really outfit your company to be a seal coating company, right? To be a player. First of all, you need a quality rig that's going to haul all your equipment around. That's going to cost you 20 grand all day. All right. Now you need a truck to pull it all around. You're not going to pull it around with a gas job. An 850 gallon. Yeah, it'll pull it. Yeah, there are trucks out there, and you say, well, my gas job. Yeah, it does. It does. But it's not made to constantly pull around that much weight. You need a diesel truck. You do. And anybody who's owned a gas job and then has owned a diesel will tell you it's night and day. I'm never buying a gas job again. All right. You might spend a little bit more money, but you're not beating your truck as hard. All right. It's like, think of your truck as like a transmission. All right. Having a gas job, towing an 50-gallon trailer with all its equipment loaded up to the bejesus belt, weighs 12,000 pounds, and you permanently put it behind a pickup truck for the rest of its life. It's like driving a car, a standard car, at 50 miles an hour in third gear. That motor's, it's doing it, it's running fine, but you're causing some serious wear and tear issues versus having that same load on a diesel pickup truck, and it's barely even working. All right. So you got a $50,000 truck used, mind you. All right. A new rig cost you 20 grand, blower, $2,000, all your edging tools, your squeegees, all that stuff, figure a couple more grand. Now, if you're going to get into crack filling, well, you could get a 30-gallon and use speed banders. But if you're going to really compete on any kind of level, then you need a tow behind. All right, because you're not going to go out and do giant commercial parking lots with speed banders. Well, and I got to buy a crack machine. That crack machine, well, that's 50, 60 grand. All right, now you're in the hundreds of thousands. Then, you need a striper, right? What kind of striping are you going to do? You're going to be doing big striping, small striping? Well, let's say if we just start off with like a little 3,900 without a driver, it's still $8,000. So, you are up in the 150, 160 grand to go out and physically buy just a bare minimum of what you need to do this job. All right. And then what happens if the phone doesn't ring? What happens if you go out and finance all of this stuff? Let's say you have good enough credit to go secure a loan big enough to get all of this stuff, and then you start to hit hard times. Like, then what do you do? So what's my suggestion then? What do I suggest? To how do you amass all like this? I have everything that I would ever need to run 2 seal coating companies, a line striping crew, a thermoplastics crew. How did I get all of this stuff? Because I'll tell you, some days I sit up on my mezzanine looking out over my shop going, Jesus Christ, how did I get all this stuff? But I'll tell you how I got all this stuff. Discipline. Okay? The first 10 years of my business, I took every dime I made and put it back into my business. I started with a little jerry rig, okay? But I went out and I took every job that I got. I took every tax return that I got. I took every profit sharing check from my job that I got, and I just rolled it into equipment that made my life easier. And before you knew it, I was like a one-man crew, but I could go, I had everything I ever needed. It got to the point where I was like, you know what? Fuck it. I'm quitting my job and I'm doing this full time. And at that point, I had enough stuff that I could handle it. It's hard. But let's say you're a guy who has his company, he's in his second, he's in his third year, things are kind of stalling, you're not really getting, you're not upgrading your equipment. What are some ways that you can help upgrade your equipment with no out-of-pocket money? I'm going to tell you, Sherwin-Williams. Sherwin-Williams is a great partner to have if you're trying to grow a business. I'm going to tell you why. Sherwin-Williams has this little unknown thing where if you're a customer of theirs and you have an open credit account, they will allow you to finance any piece of equipment that you want and pay it off throughout the season. Now, it's been a while. I can't really remember if they make you put a down payment on it or not. I don't really remember. But I financed my first driver and striper through them when my rep, who's a great rep, Nick McAuliffe, said to me, hey, you want to upgrade any of your equipment? And I said, fuck yeah. Like, what? What do you mean? He's like, oh, Graco's got a deal. Sherwin-Williams has this thing where we'll give you pretty much any equipment that you want and you have, the season to pay it off. I was like, Jesus, yeah. So I got a driver, which I had a 3,900 before, but I never had a driver. And I had this new kid who came over to work for me from another striping company, and I bought him a driver, you know, and every year I would pick up another driver and another striper, another driver, another striper. And now I have a striping division that is almost as big as the seal coating. It could be its own entity, for crying out loud, mainly because I have all the equipment I need to go out and do giant striping jobs. You know, we could go lay out a Walmart and paint it in 5-6 hours on a Saturday, just because we have auto layout and lasers. And look, I could have taken the profits from my business and turned around and spent $15,000 on each one of these stripers, right? But then you're taking away from capital that you could need if something gets like shitty down the road. So let them finance the equipment for you. Let them let their money be tied up, not your money. Same thing with seal coating. You know, when I first started doing this, both of the suppliers that I went to, they wanted me to succeed. They want you to succeed. The more successful you are, the more successful they are. Once they could see that I was going in there and, wow, this guy's buying a ton of sealer, I could basically walk in there and say, I want that. And they would give it to me and say, oh yeah, just pay me later. Hey, I need 2 edgers. I'm going to grab these 2 billy goats that you got in the showroom. I got this big crack filling job. I'll pay you for them next week. Oh, okay, no problem. Like, my whole business was built on relationships like that. You know? Again, I am all for people, you know, getting into this business. There's more than enough asphalt out there for everybody, you know, but you got to be smart about how you do it, because it's very easy to get tripped up. Very easy. Now, again, you're going to go out and you're going to buy all this stuff, and you're going to get people who know you and want to support you, and those people are going to hire you, and they're going to tell their brothers, and then their brothers are going to hire you, and then, but eventually all that stuff kind of slows down. And if you didn't prepare and you're not sitting on any kind of money, or let's say you have a great first couple months and then things kind of slow down, and then the last 2 months before winter is dead and you don't make any money, you're going into the winter with no money in the bank, you know, and you owe all of this money to pay for your equipment. Or even worse, you have all your money tied up in this equipment that now it's the winter, you can't make any money off of. So it's very easy to just say, I'm just going to fucking do it and just go buy everything, right? If you have the money, if you're a bajillionaire and money doesn't matter, then then go ahead, you know. But most of the people that are doing this are not coming from those types of means. You know, they're getting into it very slow. They're starting out with the very minimum equipment, and they're growing and adding as the work comes in. And that, in my opinion, is the most safest, the most stable way to grow and stay. Okay, I've been doing this since 2004. It's 2022 now, and I've been operating under the same name for all that time. Most new startups in this industry don't get past year 3, you know. So a company that has been around for this long obviously is doing something right. But it does get to the point where the company becomes its own entity. You know, in the beginning, it's you, right? People are hiring you. People want to hire you. They're not calling Premier Seal Coating. They're calling Ryan Anderson. When the job's getting done, Ryan Anderson's showing up for the job. But at some point, you get to a place where people aren't calling Ryan Anderson anymore. They're calling the company. And it doesn't matter if Ryan Anderson is there or not. The phone is still going to ring. Now, there's some pride that comes along with that, because here's something that you built that is flourishing, right? But in the same sense, it's kind of depressing, because it's not about you anymore. It's about the company. And that's I I call that the moment of self-sustainability, when your company can sustain itself just on its reputation alone, when you become a name in the industry that people just call when they need help and when they want something done. You can't fail really when you get to that point, unless you start doing a bad job, because it's one thing to be there when people call. It's another thing to do a bad job when you show up. Because if you do a bad job when you show up, those people aren't going to call you again. You know, that's something that you know, that I think a lot about. See, when I started doing this, I advertised everywhere. I did every SEO thing I could do. I was on the radio, every radio station, sports talk, rock and roll, country. But it wasn't really to find customers as much as it was to let all the other people know in the industry that I am here and I am going to be a name to be reckoned with. And I did that my first year. Other than that, I have not spent a dime on advertising. I do no sort of advertising whatsoever. And I listen to competitors of mine in my area who are fucking blanketing, you know, radio stations or pay-per-click. And those are companies that don't retain the work that they get. So companies like that are used to getting that call for the driveway the first time, but not the second time. And that's why they have to do all this type of blanket advertising. If I started to blanket advertise with the quality of work that we do and the reputation that we have, I'd shoot myself in the foot, because I'd become that company that wasn't able to meet its obligations, because you would just be getting bombarded with phone calls everywhere that you would not be able to handle the new phone calls and the old phone calls, right? Because you're going to get your repeat customers, but you're also going to get the new customers from all the blanket advertising that you're doing. So if you start like to get into that type of scenario, that's not good. That's really not good. So, you know, you want to be a strong company. You want to be that person that, you know what, the phone may not ring every time, but when it does ring, it's going to be a quality phone call. And listen, when I started doing this, you know, I charged what I needed to pay my bills that week. So I could go up in a neighborhood and start doing, you know, a cookie cutter driveways, 2-car wide by 3-car long, right? And I'm $225. And then the neighbor comes out. How much to do mine? You know, I'd start thinking like, what's my electric bill? Okay, my rent's coming up. Like, I would stay in that neighborhood and do fucking those driveways for $150 all weekend if it meant I got to pay my bills. But once I became a business and had to really, I understood what the value of my time was. I don't want cheap work anymore. And you know what? Like, let those guys fight about it. Let all those other contractors that have to spend $1 bajillion on it, let those guys fight for the low-grade customer. The guys that are going to bitch about every little thing, the guys that want the lowest price, those aren't the guys that you should be trying to line yourself up with. You should be trying to line yourself up with quality people who recognize the value in your attention to detail. All right? You need to be walking into these parking lots when you're doing these estimates or when you're going to these tennis courts, and you need to be pointing out all the things that the last guy did wrong. And then say, hey, listen, I'm sure, you know, you got to bring out to the fact that, look, I'm sure you got a great price on it. You want another good price? Because I can give you a good price, but this is where you're saving your money. All these little things that this guy didn't do last time that were acceptable to you when the job was done, because it probably looked great. I call it it lasts long enough for the check to cash. It might look great, but as time starts going by, it starts to deteriorate, shit starts falling apart, and then all of a sudden it's like, okay, like, and what does that do for the customer / client relationship? All it does is make the client go, it is what it is, I'm just not calling that guy again. So yeah, you got his money for the moment, but you're never getting his money again. I would rather be that guy that's up front with them, charges them a little bit more money. And if I don't get the job that time, chances are I'm going to get it the next time, because they're going to see the value in the difference between what I would have offered and what they would have offered. Other companies, they don't care about stuff like that. And that's where that's where you're going to build your biggest, that's where you're going to build your base. And your base is what's going to carry you through everything. It's very hard to be the new guy on scene. It is. And things are going to be quiet for a year or two until you start to get people under your belt who are going to lift you up and carry you along. You know, business is all about relationships. You know, think about how hard your business would be if you had to start a new relationship every time. And if you're one of these companies that blanket advertises and, you know, then you're a guy that needs to start a new relationship every time. It's been proven that you can't carry your old relationships. And I'm sorry, you know, I sound probably pretty pompous by saying shit like that, but the proof is in the pudding. You know, unless you're hiring 10 new people every season, you're losing half of your previous year's customers, when you gain all these other new customers, because you have to be so busy to meet your obligations that you have to go so fast that you possibly can't do a good job. And if you have a company that you know of who is similar to what I'm saying, like where you live in your area, and you go, yeah, that sounds like this company. Well, Google that company and read the reviews about what the people really complain about the most when it comes to that company. I guarantee you it's going to be, does not meet their obligations. And what does that mean? Well, that could mean they showed up and did a bad job. That could mean they didn't show up at all. That means they backburned customers until customers got frustrated and left. You know, you don't want to be that guy. You just want to take on as much work as you can to do a good job. And you know what? In the beginning, you're not going to be able to get top dollar, especially if you don't have any experience doing this. You have to trade dollars for experience. Get yourself into a place. If you're starting out in this industry and you don't really know shit about what it is you're doing, then you know what? Find a church and say, hey, listen, I'm new to this. I need some real life experience. I'm willing to donate seal coating this parking lot if you're okay with it. Maybe not looking perfect because I'm just learning, but this is an opportunity for both of us to gain here. All right, your parking lot obviously needs some help. I'm willing to help you. Are you willing to help give me a canvas to where I can practice my painting? And you'd be surprised. You know, that's how I got a lot of sport court jobs, is I would show up to these jobs and just be upfront with people and be like, look, I'm new to this, I'm learning, and I'll give you a really good price, but you may have to deal with some minor imperfections when it's over. And, you know, a lot of people want to help people, you know, excel. So people would love to help you, even if it means like, you know, things aren't perfect. Shit, you're not going to notice when you're driving by, you know? So, look, I've always been here. I'm more than happy to answer questions, to set guys in the right direction, and be an ear that you can pull on. You know, my mistakes are your mistakes, and I just want the very best, not only for myself, but for the guys in this industry, because at the end of the day, if guys in the industry are doing bad work and they're not being honest, that reflects negatively on all of us. So it's your job to help elevate the people that are around you. And if this helps anybody in any way whatsoever, then it was a good thing. So be good, guys. Till next time.